The Oklahoma City Thunder blow Game 1 of the NBA Finals. What went wrong for the Thunder?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and beat writer for Thunder on SI, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. On today's show, brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet hits. We're talking OKC Thunder, Pacers, NBA Finals, and the Thunder blew Game 1. Everything from the Thunder's defense to its offense to Mark Daigneault and his questions and decision-making down the stretch. Plus, we're going to get into all that went wrong for OKC in this game. It's a 7-game series for a reason. It's never a race to 1. It's always a race to 4 wins, but you clearly put yourself behind the 8 ball when you lose Game 1. They only need 3 more. You got to get all 4 left remaining here if you're Oklahoma City. Now, the beautiful thing about this playoff run for OKC has been they've quickly gotten battle scars by not just lambasting the entire West. They swept Memphis. They lost Game 1 to Denver and were able to recover and win the series ultimately in Game 7. And then they made short work of Minnesota and played from ahead. So they've been in a situation like this, obviously heightened by the NBA Finals. But this one certainly hurts and certainly will be heightened when discussing this series, and ultimately could have cost them this series, just like Game 1 against Denver could have cost them that series had you lost Game 7. So there's still a runway here for OKC, and being in the locker room, talking to Isaiah Hartenstein, talking to Wiggins, reading through what was said at the podium, you just get a sense that this Thunder team has an understanding of what went wrong, of Hartenstein, who went as far as to say, he didn't really feel like the Thunder, that the Pacers won this game, felt like the Thunder lost this game. And that's what it felt like watching it as well, because this was a contest that saw just one tie. It was 10-10 in the first quarter. After that, it was OKC who had control of this game, keeping Indiana at an arm's length every time the Pacers tried to go on a run. And a game that saw one lead change, which was the Tyrese Haliburton shot with 0.3 seconds to go to get the Pacers a 111-110 win. The Thunder blew a 15-point lead. They had a historically great defensive effort tonight. They stayed in line with that identity. They did things we didn't think they'd be able to do against this Indiana offense. But in the end, it was like watching a Major League Baseball game. This was a pitcher's duel, and your team did not have the run support to prop up what was a gem of a game from your starting pitcher. In this case, you didn't have enough offense to support what was a fantastic outing defensively. We should be talking right now about the Thunder and their defense and where they rank all time, and it's all being overshadowed. Because you can point to individual plays here and there, but in the modern NBA, you're going to let up points and you're going to let up open shots. At the end of the day, to hold Indiana to 111 points, to make life as difficult as you made it, and most importantly, for the Thunder to have an 8-point lead with 3 minutes to play, that's got to be the game you win. That's got to be like those old Kansas City Royals turning it over to the bullpen, right? HDH, Holland, Davis, Herrera, got to run in. Let's close it out the last 3 innings. 8 points with 3 minutes to go whenever you have the MVP, whenever you have this defense, should have been enough. But the Thunder went small in the biggest moments of the game. We'll talk about that in a second. I think that hurt them. And then they missed opportunities. I mean, SGA does a great job of splitting a blitz and passing it over to J-Dub in the slot, who has a great pass fake to free himself up for a wide open 3. He missed it. It's a make or miss league, and Indiana made their threes in the fourth quarter, which was the great equalizer tonight, which was what helped Indiana win this game tonight. You know, to have the ball up 1 with 14 seconds left and then get that ball into SGA, who misses his bread and butter shot the shot that has built him into the MVP, that has built him into the NBA scoring champ. That's the difference. He misses that shot. Tyrese Halliburton goes down and nails a mid-range shot, 2 steps inside the arc, and gives Indiana the win. And the Cardiac Pacers remain the Cardiac Pacers with another historic devil magic comeback in these playoffs. What a storybook way to start the finals for Indiana. And credit to Indiana, because I think that the avenue and where they beat the Thunder is their execution in the fourth quarter. Indiana's last turnover came with over 9 minutes to go in this game. The Thunder could not get a bucket down the stretch for the most part. In the fourth quarter alone, Indiana out-rebounds OKC 15-6, which a lot of that happened when both teams had small lineups on the floor. But in the fourth quarter, the biggest execution point was Indiana shot 50% from the floor, went 6 for 10 from 3, and shot 71% at the charity stripe in the fourth quarter, compared to, listen to this, OKC shot 36%. 36% from the floor in the fourth quarter, including 0 for 5 from 3. And they missed 2 free throws in a 1-point game in the final frame. That's execution. That's controllables. That's stuff that cannot happen in your quest to win a championship. And it might have cost them their best chance to win it. Now, look, it's a long series. And to make my prediction come true of Thunder in 6, they had to lose 2 games at some point. And to really make my prediction come true, they had to lose a game in Oklahoma City. This series is far from over. I would advise everyone to take a step back from the ledge. It's going to be hard to do, though, because you have 2 days off to fester with this feeling. The Thunder have to play better. They understand that. And I think that they're going to play better because their defense, again, should be the main story. It should be what everybody talks about. They forced 24 turnovers, the exact number that all week I, for one, have been saying that that's not going to happen. I've been saying it won't be some 21, 24 turnover night from Indiana like it has been for other teams. No, it was. It was 24 turnovers for Indiana. Listen to me, church. They didn't turn the ball over in the fourth quarter, but 3 times. Most of that happened in that first, second, and third quarter in those segments of games which the Thunder typically blow teams out of the water. What changed tonight was execution. What changed tonight was off of those 24 turnovers, off of 24 Indiana turnovers, Oklahoma City had 11 points. 11 points off turnovers. That's shooting yourself in the foot. That's not going to play. That's not going to work. Whenever you have an offense that can go so stale in the half court, you have to be able to thrive in transition. That's what this whole house of cards is built on. It's built on getting out in transition and capitalizing, and they did not do that tonight. They did not do enough of what made them great tonight, and it cost them in a 1-point game. That's where you can find some positives, though, because if they do what got them here, they'll be able to make up the 1-point difference. But OKC's defense forced Indiana into a lot of tough shots tonight. Even with that eye-popping fourth quarter where we read the stats out, how they made half their shots and 60% of their threes, yada, yada, yada. For the entire game, Indiana shot 47% from the field, 46% from 3. Still good numbers, but when you factor in how much that the fourth quarter was weighted, it does paint the picture of how porous Indiana's offense was for 3 quarters of this game. Off of 24 turnovers, if you just count all fast break points, it was a 1-point difference in OKC's favor, 11 to 10. Indiana had 24 turnovers. OKC had 6. And yet fast break points was 11 to 10, an area that the Thunder typically thrive. Second chance points was 12 to 11, in this game, which is jarring because of how the Thunder end up getting dominated on the glass. They end up in a 56-39 hole on the glass. A lot of that came in that fourth quarter, like we mentioned before. But the Thunder just did not do enough to win this game offensively because their defense was pressuring Indiana into those turnovers, speeding up this offense. There's a difference in playing with pace and tempo versus being sped up and out of control. This was a Pacers team that got out of control. The Thunder had a 7-0 run to start this game, which was entirely defensively, because even in the start of this game, the Thunder were not executing right offensively, but they they kept stacking stops to eventually, after like 2 or 3 minutes, get that 7-0 run under their belt. But they forced turnovers by having these unique switches where Indiana at one point thought that they had Cason Wallace switched onto Turner. Cason Wallace fronts Turner, switches onto the ball handler, and Chet peels off to go get Turner, and it gets taken away from Indiana, who has to throw the ball away and kind of abort the plan midway through. And that's just elite defense. That's flying around. They were able to put a body on all 5 guys on the floor while putting extra pressure on whoever had the pumpkin at the time. The Thunder did what they had to do defensively. They even contested the corner threes better. Now listen to me, church. They did not do a perfect job at it. And Indiana still shot the ball well from 3, but those threes were way more contested than they have been in the past, historically speaking, from OKC's standpoint of kind of conceding that corner 3 shot. The Thunder did have better contests tonight, even in that area. They did so many things right, and it ends with a loss, including their defense and Therese Halliburton, who was 2 for 4 in the first half. Now, in the second half, he goes 4 for 9. Right? He kind of turns it around, but still 4 for 9, limiting his shot attempts and getting the ball out of his hands. And you just did not have guys who could step up. This was a battle of one team that stepped up to the challenge in the fourth quarter and one that didn't. Because we just laid out an entire half of the floor that the Thunder outright dominated in. But when it came down to the fourth quarter, Indiana role players hit their threes, their star hit the biggest shot, and they won the game. And this is what the finals are. This is what happens when you get 2 great teams at this stage. You're going to have to win close games. You're going to have to play close games. I have no idea who on earth thought that there was going to be a blowout. It's why I said that the point differential in this series would be within 5 points. It's never going to be a blowout for either side. But you have to take that and execute it. It's why I said that this series would include more of a look like that game 4 against Minnesota, where it's their role players hitting threes, but you're able to undo that damage by your top 3 playing at a high level, and your top 3 did not play at a high level tonight. And that's what cost you. It's what would have cost you in that Minnesota series had you lost game 4, right? It changes the series a bit. But ultimately, it is just one game. And everything that we've harped on the Thunder did wrong, they typically do right. And this team has had a unique ability to respond. But coming up, let's talk Mark, let's talk Big 3, and let's talk what a disservice this game was to Lu Dort. But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at FanDuel, go check out FanDuel today, because the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-tying shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action than right now. FanDuel makes it so easy to stay in the game. It includes before and after tip-off, because you can make live bets with player props, same-game parlays, and performance trends can help you make that decision. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up right now, because FanDuel.com is there for you whenever you place your first $5 bet. And if you win that $5 bet the first time, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. The Thunder were 9.5-point favorites tonight against Indiana. They lost. The Thunder in game 2, 11-point favorites against Indiana. We'll see what happens, but I like Indiana plus 11 to at least cover if they win or lose. Go check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Look, this offense did not deserve to win tonight. Whenever you in the game shooting 39% from the floor, 36% from 3, and 87% from the free throw line, you're just not going to win. When you can't capitalize in transition, you're just not going to win. When you can't capitalize on your second chance points that you tried to create, you're not going to win. When Indiana has 7 more threes, it's the great equalizer, despite OKC getting into the paint and getting 46 points in the paint compared to Indiana's 34. They'll concede that every day of the week for the 3-point advantage. Chet went 2 for 9, and J-Dub went 6 for 19. We'll dive into those two guys more in a second, but that kind of summarizes everything. Your offense was SGA, it was Hartenstein putbacks, and it was Lu Dort threes. That was it. That was all you got offensively. This was an offense that was dead on arrival in this game and could not figure it out, could not go on sustained runs, could not continuously put the ball in the hole except for SGA. And now that leads to a ton of questions about Mark. The biggest point being, a lot of people today, including on this network, and I respect the opinions, we'll talk about Mark overthinking this. And you can argue that and have a ton of credibility behind it. But to me, this was Mark staying true to his identity. Now, you cannot like his identity, but he stayed true to it. This felt like in game one, where because you wasted in game one of that Denver series, because you wasted the Caruso game, it just hits you even harder. Because you wasted the Lu Dort 5 for 9 from 3 game, it hits you even harder. And now all we can talk about is every decision that Mark made. But this is what he does. He uses game one as a feel out process. Whether you like that or not, I think that that's what you can question versus, oh, did he overthink it? Is he in over his head? No, I think that, you're not in over your head if you have a clear-headed thought process. And his clear-headed thought process was to continuously do the exact methods that got him here, of treating game ones this way, of operating his rotations this way. I think that even down to changing the starting lineup, like that was a move that you could see 30 minutes before the tip-off, and you could have one of two reactions. You could say this was a great move before tip-off because you feel like that they were better with a solo big against Minnesota, and they were, and you feel like that the solo big helps them keep the pace against Indiana better, and it did. Like the changing the starting five, no matter who's favored or not, it's not played in Vegas. These games are played on the hardwood. Yes, the Thunder were the favorites, and yes, they were the first to adjust, but the adjustment worked. They controlled this game the entire way, and they controlled this game even more when they had one big on the floor, flanked by point of attack perimeter guys. That's whenever they found their most success. So that first decision was not a panic move. It was a move that actually worked. Now let's go on to the next decisions that he made. Playing 11 guys in the first half. Okay, you could argue he got a little overzealous, but again, this is what Mark does. He's dancing, he's dancing with the girl he brought to the dance, or whatever the saying is. He's riding the horse that brought him here. It's by playing deep in his rotation in the first half that he did all regular season long, that he's done specifically in game ones and early on in series. And the craziest move of those 11 was to go to rookie AJ Mitchell to start the second quarter. But even that decision, right, I thought that it was a very clear, move that had reason behind it. The reasoning being that AJ Mitchell, for his entire rookie season, has been a really good table setter for this team and has done a really good job of setting up guys like J-Dub in that secondary unit without Shea on the floor. And this was not like J-Dub was lighting the world on fire. He was 1 for 4 to start the first. So you felt like maybe he could use a little oomph. You felt like maybe he could use two guys with Mitchell and Hartenstein who can try to create advantages for him to where he's not having to work as hard for these buckets. They tried it. They went away from it, and they kind of got back, they kind of got back on course. The biggest thing is, this happened in the first half, and they were, again, up by 8 with 3 minutes to go. So I think that even the craziest move for Mark tonight was pretty explainable. Now, you can then point to leaving SGA off the floor until the 7:44 mark. And even Tony East of Locked On Pacers leaned over to me and asked, like, is this normal? Is this what happens? And this is Shea's rotation. Now, in closeout games and games later on in the series, they bring him in closer to that 9-minute mark. But what was happening, right, leading into that 9-minute mark? That's when J-Dub finally came alive. That's whenever that lineup led by J-Dub was finally playing good basketball. So you waited it out, brought SGA back in at the 7:44 mark, and once again, you were up 8 with 3 minutes to go. So even that decision didn't truly cost you, although I could leverage with you that they should have put Shea in the game no matter what, because no matter if J-Dub is going or not, you'd rather have the best player in the sport on the floor. They have the best player in the series on the floor. So I'll give you that one. And I'll also give you going small at the end of the fourth quarter. I wouldn't have done that. I thought that some of those possessions, went away from the Thunder and swung away from the Thunder, including the lane violation on the Pascal Siakam free throw, which turns a miss into a make at the free throw line in a 1-point game, because it felt like those guys understood that they're compensating for their lack of size, because Lu Dort just flew in there and got a bit of a early start. It's like a false start in football. He kind of left early, trying to overcompensate for their lack of size. If you have big men in there, does Lu Dort make that same decision? Do you have to replay the free throw? Do you even get the rebound? And do the Pacers give even more points? Like, we don't really know. We're just playing the results. But at the end of the day, none of this is a conversation specifically about Mark if Shea makes the mid-range jumper. If Shea makes the mid-range jumper, which is his bread and butter shot, the conversation today is about Shea having his moment. It's about the defense being just an electric factory and a historically great one. It's about the Thunder taking care of business and getting a 1-0 lead in the NBA Finals on their home court. That's the story tonight. If Shea makes the shot that he's made to get to this point, or if Halliburton misses that shot, just like CJ McCollum had a chance with the New Orleans Pelicans in game 1 of round 1 last year to win them that game at the buzzer, and it got halfway home and rimmed out. And then we didn't talk about it anymore. We didn't talk about Mark's decision making. We didn't talk about anything from game 1. It felt like we knew what the result was, that they were fortunate to get a tight win in game 1. They were still the better team, and we moved on about that series, and they end up going to win that series in 4 games instead of 5. It's like the game 3 against Memphis, where they just came out flat. They were down. John Morant gets hurt, and Chet Holmgren just lights it up in the second half. There was no big questionings of Mark and of this team. They won the game tight and moved on about your business. So, that's where questioning the coaches, I think, gets a little off or goes a little bit too far. They're not kind of removed from criticism, but I think that going small late in that fourth quarter was a bad decision. I think every other decision you can level with, and every other decision you can rationalize with, and every other decision didn't cost them. And that it's just kind of a peek behind the curtain of how the sausage is made on some of these talking points that we run with after games like this. And SGA, we've talked about his miss in the biggest spot, but he still played fantastic basketball. 38 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 46% from the floor, 3 for 6 from 3. He was ultra aggressive, which is the exact aggression level that you need from your star, especially when your offense is laboring. That pull-up slot 3 to push the Thunder lead back to 5 in the first quarter was a great illustration of what he did consistently tonight, of steadying the waters once the Thunder let go of the rope and keeping Indiana at an arm's length. He had 9 points whenever the Pacers had 10. He was on the gas from the word go. The Pacers could not find ways to stop him from getting to that weak side baseline mid-range jumper, which killed them consistently tonight. He dictated where he wanted to go on the floor and when he wanted to go on the floor to be able to score at will in this game. He had a pull-up midi as the clock expired to put the Thunder up 9 going into the fourth quarter. That was a superstar shot. Everybody in the building knew he was taking that 3. Indiana knew he was taking that 3 just based on the time on the clock, based on his position on the floor, based on his body positioning. He was not in a position to threaten you off the dribble and get to the rim. Everybody knew that 3 was coming. He pulls up and drills it, and OKC's up 9 heading into the fourth quarter. That's those moments from Shea that you get robbed of talking about because OKC lost this game. And he did it. He did a great job impacting both ends. He drew 2 timely offensive fouls to get much needed stops for OKC. And he poked the ball free from Miles Turner on an entry pass from Halliburton after Chet took away a step back 3. Shea was involved on both ends. Shea did a great job of keeping the Thunder in this game, much less giving them a chance to win it, much less giving himself the opportunity to miss the biggest shot of the game. If he plays any step lower than he did, if you look at this as a staircase of success, if he played at any step below the one he was on, the Thunder are not even in this game to have the chance at the buzzer to win, for as good as their defense was, because their offense was that bad, and he carried them to that point. And obviously, you would love to have that shot back. You'd love to have that shot not forsake him, the shot that built him. But it did. And that's basketball. And you move on to game 2. He was 7 for 8 at the free throw line. He missed 1. Caruso missed 1. Wiggins missed 1 in a 1-point game. Those are things that you want back. But overall, he shot 46% from the floor in the NBA Finals against the best team remaining, against a really good defense, against an excellent coach that was scheming up everything to try to stop him. He shot 46% from the floor. That's not the efficiency that he's been held to historically, in the sense of his standard, but it is one more than good enough for this moment. He went 3 for 6 from 3 to try to loosen up that Indiana defense. Shea was really good tonight, and Shea was the reason that you had the chance. But we'll talk about what has to be better, which is the rest of their big 3, and what a complete disservice this game was to Lu Dort. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Here talking Thunder blowing game 1 to the Indiana Pacers as Chet Holmgren just didn't have it tonight. I mean, he didn't play with enough force around the rim. He didn't attack off the catch good enough to create advantages. He missed a layup through a little bit of contact where he was running the floor by himself, coast to coast against Miles Turner on a clean contest. That was clean. That was a great contest by Turner. That was the right physicality for the postseason, and Chet didn't match it, and Chet didn't have it tonight. He had one trip to the free throw line to kind of indicate the forcefulness of which he plays. That's really a good gauge for Chet, because when Chet's in a rhythm, when Chet's demanding the ball, when Chet's playing with force, he takes 2, 3, 4, 5 trips to the free throw line, because he's such a unique archetype that you can't help but foul, because once he's attacking off the catch, it's because he's gotten you out of position. He went 0 for 1 from 3. He just really wasn't even involved in this game offensively. 2 for 9 overall, 1 for 3 from 3, 6 rebounds, 6 points and a block. It was just not good enough. It just wasn't. And with Chet, there's a lot of things to change. With J-Dub, I thought that, he really got more comfortable as the game went on. He hit tougher shots as the game went on. He had a tough finish to start the fourth quarter. He had another touch finish around the rim, taking on contact, getting downhill off of a Hartenstein screen in the fourth quarter. He had a pick 6 on an entry pass, which was near a 5-second call in Indiana to put OKC up 94-79 with a timeout from Indiana coming whenever SGA hadn't stepped on the floor yet. Again, when we're talking about the decision to leave Shea on the bench, OKC forced an Indiana timeout because of a J-Dub pick 6 on top of those 2 buckets we described earlier. And OKC had a 94-79 lead whenever Rick Carlisle had to call a timeout. I would have put Shea back in after that timeout, obviously. But, J-Dub was kind of leading that way and leading that charge and getting things on track for OKC, in that fourth quarter segment. I thought that J-Dub, it was more so similar to what we talked about after game 6 against Denver, where he did not have anywhere close to the production required. He did not have the box score that was the sexiest or that was good enough. In this game, he had 17 points on 19 shots, shooting 31%. He was 1 for 4 from 3. That's not good enough production-wise. He had 6 assists and 4 rebounds and a steal. Like, that's not good enough production-wise in the 37 minutes he was on the floor tonight. But the comfortability shown in the fourth quarter, I think what you're going to get the rest of the series, because I didn't think that anything about the first 3 quarters was inherently off the way I did about Chet. I thought that it was just a make or miss league, and he was missing some high shot quality looks that he made all throughout that Minnesota series to make that a short series, and that he's been able to display consistently enough to get him to the All-Star game, to get him to All-NBA, and to have a real powerful impact on this Thunder offense as the number 2 option this young in his career. I think that these 2 guys are entirely in control of their, obviously legacies, but their obituaries of this season. This response to game 1, specifically from these 2, will dictate how this year gets talked about. Will dictate the conversations of, are they ready? Are the lights too bright? And again, I think that's unfair to J-Dub. I don't think that the lights were too bright. I don't think that the stage was overwhelming. I don't think that Indiana did anything specifically to deter him. I thought that he just, like in game 6 against Denver, could not have the ball bounce his way. If you were looking for anything about Dub, I thought early on he could have been a bit more aggressive in that first quarter. I thought he could have been a bit more aggressive, charging at the rim with a full head of steam and utilizing his body better, especially to initiate the contact of his defenders. I thought that he let contact come into his body too much, and he could have been the first to punch, so to say, on the offensive end. But generally, in the 37 minutes, I thought that he played his style of basketball, and the ball didn't bounce his way. Now, it's got to change. The ball has to start bouncing his way. He's got to start forcing the issue. But they're in complete control of how they're talked about. And this is, a situation where you're almost the victim of your success, because I've been trying to tamper expectations all year long about this Thunder team, and specifically this duo, of just how uncommon they are and how uncommon it is to be draft picks in 2022 and in 2025 win a championship. But you're here now, and you're the favorites, and you're good enough, and this team's good enough, and these 2 players are good enough where you have to win. And again, game 1 does not define the series. Obviously, you love to win it, but you're never in or out of the series based upon game 1. The Thunder are actually 0-1 in the finals whenever they win game 1, as a quick aside. Let's talk Lu Dort, who I think got robbed tonight. I think that Lu Dort got absolutely robbed. This should have been a storybook game. This should have been the game that you tell your grandchildren about. This should have been the game that plays in every single montage where Lu Dort returns to OKC in his tomorrow years, right? And in his future. This should have been stuff of legends for Lu Dort, as every franchise, including this one, already has these role players and these under the radar players who everybody flocks to. Lu Dort is certainly a fan favorite, and he had that game tonight. And it gets dampened, it gets kind of ripped away from him by that fourth quarter execution from the team. Because from the word go, Lu Dort fought his guts out. Lu Dort knew the moment. Lu Dort brought the intensity, the physicality, the energy needed to win this game. He swarmed to every single ball, every long carom off the rim, every deflection, every fluttering pass. He was there. He created so many possessions for OKC. Him alone, he had 4 rebounds and 4 steals from the guard spot. And those 4 rebounds were stacked in that first half. And if you capitalize on those 4 rebounds from Lu Dort, then this game is different. It was a 1-point margin, folks. He went 5 for 7 from 3. He had those 2 blocks on top of the 4 steals. The last one being the most impressive defensive play of this postseason from the Thunder, which is saying a lot because their postseason has been defined by defense. But him staying vertical in the middle of the paint and getting that clean block at the rim should have saved the game and should have put the Thunder on the fast track to a title, being up 1-0. And he has 15 points in a complimentary role. Like, this should have been the Lu Dort game, just like game 1 of that Denver series should have been the Alex Caruso game, should have been the game that he was led on and reflected on. It turned into him, for Caruso to be game 7, where he stops Jokic in that Denver series and helps the Thunder get to the next round. So it just goes to put into perspective, without looking to yesteryear or without looking to other examples. Look at this very team. This very team blew game 1. Mark was peppered, including by me, so I'm not throwing anyone in the bus, peppered by questions about fouling up 3 until the cows came home the next day. I mean, quite literally, you can go back and watch it. Myself, Joe Mazzato, Barry Trammell, we all talked about it for 10, 15 minutes on one singular topic after game 1 to Mark. But these series are long and even longer in the finals with these days off. This Thunder team has been able to respond before. They have to respond again. And after game 1 against Denver, you're looking on the other side and saying you're playing the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic. You're playing a battle-tested team against a young upstart team that hasn't been there, hasn't done that, hasn't gotten the battle scars, hasn't proven that they can do it on this stage. They gave away game 1 despite having such a great rest advantage and Denver coming in off of playing a game 7 themselves less than 36 hours before. Remember, everything was in the Thunder's favor in that game 1 against Denver, and they lost it, and you had that same sinking feeling you have now, and the Thunder go on to win that series. This series is not over at all. I am sorry to everyone in Indiana who tuned into this show for saying this, but I do feel like the better team tonight was the Thunder. The better team in the fourth quarter and down the stretch was Indiana. But the better team tonight for 40 minutes was Oklahoma City. That was the better team tonight. How can you go win those 8 minutes? How can you go change what you did late in this game execution-wise? And it starts with everybody. Mark's got to change, and the players have to change. And to both parties' credit, Mark, throughout the course of series, has changed. Go look at the box scores. If you're busy or not busy the next 2 days, and you're really just festering on this, go look at the box scores of game 1 and 2 of every single series, then games 4, 5, and then 6 and 7 from the Denver series, of how the box score changes, how many minutes everybody plays, how many people play, all right? How many minutes that Shea plays, like all these questions that you have, we've already got the answers to the test, folks. Like the teacher left the grading sheet out. The teacher left the key out. Ricky stole it, and he's selling it for $20 on the corner. And everybody's going to have a great final score because we've stolen the test from Miss Rudiker. It's out there. Like, this is what Mark does. This is what the Thunder do. They haven't lost consecutive games this playoffs. They've only lost consecutive games once this season. But none have been bigger than game 2. None have been bigger than game 2 at home against these Indiana Pacers. And get your rest these next 2 days, because every game will be like this. Every game will be tight. Every game will have runs. Every game will have swings of emotions. And you just hope that when that final buzzer sounds, you're 1 point better than the other team. And tonight, Indiana had to weather through a lot. Indiana had to battle through a lot. Indiana had to fight off a lot of emotions down 15 and with their offense for the first time ever, getting out of sorts with turnovers. And they were 1 point better tonight at the end of it. Can't have Thunder in 6 without a couple of losses. And this was the first one. The Thunder have to respond. The Thunder, of course, have to steal a game in Indy after winning game 2 if they want to win this series. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But this is frankly a game that warrants 5 different podcasts. So we're going to have a pod with Tony East of Locked On Pacers on the off day. We're going to have that live stream tomorrow afternoon / early morning, sometime in there, where I already have a lot of your Twitter reactions in a thread that I'll react to, plus the live chat, of course. And we're also going to have a preview for game 2 officially and talk more about this game all throughout the weekend. So make sure you subscribe to Locked On Thunder anywhere you get your podcast from, including on YouTube. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.